Hello and good evening, everyone. We have Miss Susan here. She's here to share her experience, her career field, as well as the things she's gone through in regards to coming from high school, after high school, post-secondary, all of the good things on behalf of what it took for her to get to where she's at. So, without further ado, we are introducing Miss Susan. Take it away.
Hey, thank you so much. Yes, my name is Susan Higgins, and I am currently the owner of Fashionista Yogi, a yoga and health and wellness lifestyle brand where I focus on my health journey through blogging and podcasting, and I sell branded apparel as well. And the way I got started on my current career role path is it's actually a pretty long story. Not really quite sure how to summarize it, but I will get through it my best ability. So it started when I was 10 years old. I pretty much knew I wanted to be a fashion designer. And by the time it came time to decide where I was going to college or what I was going to college for, there wasn't a question about it because I knew I was going to be a fashion designer. I had been focusing on art throughout high school. You know, we didn't have like majors in high school, but you can focus on something. So I focused on art, knowing that that was the path that I was going to take. And so I started off at a 4-year HBCU called Clark Atlanta University, located in Atlanta, Georgia. And I stayed there for my freshman year. And I ended up transferring to a 2-year fashion college called Barter College, which also is in Atlanta, Georgia. And the reason why I decided to transfer after my freshman year is that I really was not happy with the fashion program at Clark Atlanta. It just, to start off, it was just giving me too much of the art theory, kind of basic art classes that I'd already taken in high school. And I really was looking to jump right into the fashion curriculum. And it just wasn't giving me what I wanted it to give for the amount of money that my parents were paying for it. So I transferred. But I can say that I am so thankful for that HBCU experience. Literally, most of my lifetime friends at this point were made at that time during that freshman year at Clark Atlanta, because clearly since I transferred to another school, I still was going on campus and hanging out and whatnot. But that was where I established a lot of my lifelong friendships. So I just say that to say that, you know, going to college, a lot of it is about relationships and that network that gives you later in life. You know, I met people from all over the country. So, you know, I had friends from everywhere at that point. So I just wanted to talk about how important it is to make sure that you establish those relationships for your network and your future. You never know what anyone that you meet in college may be doing later that can help you out in some way or a way that you can help them out. So I just want to talk about that. And, you know, going to HBCU also was really great. I had never been to school with that many Black people my whole life. I went to all white schools until then. So just having that bonding experience was really amazing for me as well. So I just want to touch on that. And so once I graduated from Barter College, I immediately moved to New York City and started my career in fashion. And my first 2 roles, they weren't fashion design roles. The first one was a technical designer, and the second one was a pattern guide checker for a pattern making company called McCall's, if you're familiar with any pattern making companies. And I remained in New York City throughout my entire 20s, and I ended up working for many fashion companies, and I ended up transitioning into design after about a year or 2 of doing those 2 jobs, starting out fresh out of school. And right after my 32nd birthday, I ended up moving to Dallas, Texas, because I was recruited and relocated to work for JCPenney's corporate office and design for them. And I started practicing yoga. This kind of goes back a little bit because I moved to Dallas probably in 2011. In 2009, I started taking yoga as a student. And the reason why I started taking yoga was because I was working this really high stress job in New York, and I was diagnosed with a disease called ulcerative colitis. And one of my good friends that I worked with at the time, she told me, you know, this disease probably has a lot to do with stress. And you probably need to do some things to work on your stress level. And I really suggest yoga. So I started practicing yoga to, you know, take her up on what she was saying. And I really got into it. I love the mindfulness and the meditation. It definitely helped me, stay centered and help me out a lot when I'm in those stressful situations in jobs. So that's how I started yoga, kind of had to throw that in there just so that you understand where yoga even comes in along the journey. And then I got laid off. So jumping back to Dallas, again, I went to Dallas in 2011 and started working at JCPenney. I got laid off from JCPenney in 2012. And during that time of being laid off, I decided, well, I'm not working, I'm getting unemployment, I got a severance package. What better time than the present to learn another trade, to learn something else that I can monetize. I can teach yoga anywhere in the world that I go. So why not learn something new? So I took that time and I went to yoga teacher training and I learned to be a yoga teacher. And it was one of the most fulfilling, amazing decisions I ever made in my life. Because when you go to yoga teacher training, you do a lot of philosophy studying, you do a lot of self-work. And, you ask yourself questions you never thought to ask yourself. And you just really dig deep and work on yourself. And that was just amazing. It was just something that I could never, ever take that experience away from myself. Like, I encourage anyone that has the opportunity to go to yoga teacher training to do so, even if you don't want to teach, just from a self growth standpoint, it does the wonders for you as a person. And so after I finished training to be a yoga teacher, I started a business in 2013 called Fashionista Yogi. And at that time, that business was specifically started to brand myself as a yoga teacher. So when you came to my classes, you would log onto my website and sign up at fashionistayogi.com. So that was the purpose of the business at that time. I started renting out a studio space, which was really cool because it kind of was like a co-working space for fitness instructors. It was me and two other women. One was a Zumba instructor and one was a boot camp instructor, both Black women in Dallas. And we all paid rent together and we just split times and taught our classes throughout the week. So I launched that in 2013, which was really great. I ended up going back to work at JCPenney in early 2014, designing women's activewear for a private label at JCPenney's called Exertion. I was doing that while I still was running my business, teaching yoga at the studio. And I also was doing a freelance design job for a school in Africa called Bridge in Nairobi, Kenya. And so I was doing all three of these at the same time, and it was a bit nuts. I was designing and manufacturing school uniforms for the school, and it was a tough job because this was in a very impoverished part of Africa, and they needed very, very low cost school uniforms. So I had to find some factories that really, really can get some uniforms, these kids, dirt cheap. So it was not easy. So I kind of started a consulting design firm based off of that because the project was so big, like I couldn't do it myself. So I ended up bringing in some consultants that were really good at sourcing and knew dealing with fabrics and that kind of stuff, and dealing with factories came in to help me because I'm by myself on the phone with factories in the middle of the night and working this full-time job and teaching yoga. So I definitely had to delegate and get some help on that project. And that launched a company I started called Dream Design Group. And so Dream Design Group started around that time while I'm still teaching yoga and working full-time at JCPenney's designing clothes. Eventually it got to be a bit too much, trying to balance doing so many things. And I just wasn't giving the proper attention that I needed to give to the marketing of my business. So I ended up deciding to take a step back because paying rent for a studio where it really wasn't growing and I really wasn't profiting just wasn't making sense at the moment. And so I took a step back from that portion of the business, and I continued to teach yoga, but in more of gyms and yoga studios that already existed. And, just trying to just feel through like what I needed to shift in that business and how I can attack it in a different way. I could still teach yoga and brand myself without necessarily having to have my own space, was my thought process at that time. And so, and then comes January 2016, and I was diagnosed with a autoimmune disease. It's a second autoimmune disease. I already told you about the ulcerative colitis. Now I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease that causes inflammation to your joints. And it affects me mainly in my wrists and my shoulders. And so I stopped teaching altogether as a result of being diagnosed with this disease, because my wrists were really, really in a very damaged place. And I really just needed my energy to focus on myself at that time. I didn't have anything to give anyone else. I had to take a step back and completely just self-care. So all my yoga energy that I would give my students, I needed for me. And so at that time, I still practiced yoga, but I had to start modifying the way that I did yoga, because I couldn't even put my hands down all the way flat, like the way you do a down dog. Like I couldn't press down. I couldn't press down to do a push-up. So I had to learn to teach myself different modifications. I started doing like the chaturanga push-ups and the down dogs on my fists and on my forearms, and just doing different things to adjust my body so that it didn't hurt and I still could practice yoga. So that actually ended up turning that into part of the business, you know, kind of to catch you up to now where things are now. I have turned the business into more of a lifestyle brand, where I not only teach yoga virtually, but I focus more on those modified yoga moves for people that have pain and injuries in their wrists like I do. So I just shifted a bit once that ended up happening to me. I didn't stop, I just pivoted. And I also create content around health and wellness, around my health and wellness journey, and just telling my story and what I go through on a day-to-day basis, dealing with medicines and food and everything that comes along with a lifestyle where you're dealing with 2 chronic illnesses. I tell those stories through blogging and through podcasts, just to help other people in some way, shape, or form. You never know. If you tell your story, you never know who may relate to what you're saying and who can help you, who you are helping by sharing your story. So I just share my story, is the main thing that I do with my business now. In 2020, I launched a podcast called Runway to Reiki, where I interview different design professionals as well as alternative health professionals. And every interview, somehow it gets tied back to health and wellness in some way. So even if you're a designer or an artist, I'm still going to try and find out what's going on with your health and how you're eating, and share that information with listeners. And I felt it was important to start that podcast, because I just feel that I don't feel that these diseases and things happen for a reason that's just all bad. I feel like when you learn these things, you learn how to take care of yourself better, that God wants you to share those gifts and those messages with other people. And so I share content to help other people, because I feel that I've been given a gift, not to be crippled by not moving forward with my life. This stuff happens so I can help other people. And so one of my main focuses now on my brand is focusing on the apparel aspect of it. So it's just time in my life where, I've been a fashion designer for over 20 years, and it's time for me to put that talent into myself and my own brand. So that's what I'm focusing on mainly right now. And what does my job look like from day to day? It involves like a lot of content creation, a lot of writing blogs and scripts for podcast interviews, and planning those interviews, editing podcasts, and doing everything I need to do to upload and promote, designing apparel, working with factories on sourcing my apparel, creating content for social media to market my business, coming up with looks for photo shoots and coordinating photo shoots, hiring photographers and planning locations and times and whatnot, teaching yoga virtually. Sometimes I do private clients, sometimes I do group classes, and just a lot of planning and strategizing, and then dealing with financials. I would say the most important skill set or experience in my role that I would emphasize for the people watching are flexibility. Being flexible is really important. Being adaptable, being able to change and pivot when things happen, not just being so stuck in your ways. Discipline, of course, like you don't get anywhere without being super disciplined and getting up and doing the hard work that it takes to do whatever it is you're trying to do. Like you're not just going to sit there and think about something and it magically comes to you. You actually have to put in the work to get it done. And you have to be willing to delegate and, let people help you. You can't do everything yourself. You have to be willing to let some things go. And you never know, once you bring people on, you can do a lot more things faster. It increases the amount of things that you are able to do. So delegation is super, super important. What I like most about my current career and role is just the freedom to create whatever it is that I want to put, and I put to my mind to. I can create whatever it is I want to do. If I want to shift and bring in a new product, I have the freedom to do that and the flexibility. So that's what I love the most about my life right now. Advice that I have for young people interested in my career, I have 8 points. One is to handle your business first. Get you a good accountant and help keep track of your money and your taxes. A lot of us say we want to start businesses, but if the cash flow is not right and we're not keeping track of what's coming in and what's going out and not making sure we're paying our taxes and doing what we need to do properly financially, it's not going to be helpful to be in business. So that's the number one piece of advice I have. And number 2 is don't be afraid to delegate. As I said before, as much as possible, you cannot do everything yourself. There are so many ways, if you start businesses now, to bring in consultants and people to help you, and you can delegate. You can bring in virtual assistants. There are sites called Fiverr and like Upwork where you can hire art, graphic designers and different people that do marketing, people that do all types of things. They're on these platforms and you can hire them for your business to help you out. So you don't have to have the burden of everything on yourself. Your social media management, everything you need to be done, you can delegate out. Number 3 is don't think that you know it all. And don't be afraid to get a business coach to help teach you the things that they've already learned through their experiences so that can help you with your strategies. You have to pay, to get better at anything you do. Nothing comes for free. Just like sports, if you want to be a better basketball player or tennis player, you're going to hire a private coach. Do the same thing with your business. Take that same mindset. It doesn't hurt to get help. No one knows everything. Like I said, same thing goes with business. Always don't be afraid to invest in yourself. And that brings me to number 4, never stop learning. Always take classes, courses, attend workshops, conventions, anything that you can to keep learning and to keep bettering yourself. Listen to podcasts, watch, content on YouTube. Just always keep learning so that you constantly can keep growing. And number 5, don't be afraid to pivot from your original idea. As I said, things happen in life, things come up, you have new ideas, better ideas. You never know. You may pivot and that may be your $1 million, product that you come up with. And so don't get stuck at, well, this is my original idea and, I'm not going to do anything else. I'm just staying here. That will keep you stuck. So don't be afraid to pivot. And number 6 is be disciplined with your time. That's self-explanatory. Having your own business, you're your own manager. So you don't have anyone telling you where to be and what time to be there. So you have to manage it yourself. And so that's very important to be disciplined with that time. And number 7, like I said, it requires hard work. There aren't any shortcuts. A lot of people want to, what's the secret to being successful? How do I get there? Work. Everybody that is where they are, they work. No one is magically just like successful. They put in a lot of work, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of weekends. You've got to put in the work if you want to see results. And lastly, it's okay to make sacrifices while you build your business. Having a full-time job will help you financially with your business. That, your full-time job could be your investment money. That's your first investor for your business. Having a full-time job can also teach you many things that can be very useful to your business. And don't be afraid to do things that feel like there are setbacks to be able to help you focus your time and resources on your business. If you have to live with your parents longer than you want to in order to save money to focus on your business, it's okay. Do that. Sometimes you got to just like grind it out and do things you don't want to do. Nobody wants to live with their mom forever. But sometimes you utilize her and lean on her and your dad in order to get where you want to get with your business. With that being said, you have to make some sacrifices while you're building. Beware of this shiny object syndrome, where you want all the fancy things in life, but you don't want to sacrifice to put the energy and the effort into your business so that your business will be successful and you can buy those things later. And lastly, don't worry about what you're supposed to do, meaning like what everyone says you're supposed to do, what's traditional way. You got to go to school, you got to, go to college, and then this and then that. Forget the rules. In life, you do what's best for you, and you can create your own life and you can create your own rules. And that's it. Thank you. And I'm open for questions.
Thank you so much. You are over here inspiring me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is this what's going on? Let me fix the view. I'm like, it was just so phenomenal just to be able to hear, your story and working full time and having a business and investing in yourself. Like, I feel like those are all key points, and you definitely inspired me. I have a business of my own too, and so it was just like, oh gosh, I'm over here taking notes. Like, okay, what else can I add to my toolbox? It was just great, and I'm grateful that you shared your life, shared your story, because as you stated, it looks different for everyone. Nobody's story is the same. And so if it is a different route, don't get caught in the what you're supposed to do. Because I've even, as a person, like, oh, well, they're doing this, or, oh, this is a new thing. And you tire yourself out trying to keep up with what everybody else is doing. And I definitely posted that today, like, life is not a race. Go at your own pace. And everything you just said was definitely aligned with what I posted today on my post. So it was just like, dang, that was just a reminder, because it's easy to be able to set something, or it's easy to be able to say something, but when you actually implement it for your life, it's like, okay, this is what I'm going to go by. And so you definitely just place some things on my mind as well. Like, you can never stop learning, as you stated. And that's very true. This was very eye-opening, and it was a refresher for me. I really appreciate you sharing your time with us and coming to speak to us, because I learned something and I took a couple of nuggets. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Definitely appreciate it. Star, Angel, do y'all have anything?
Thank you, Susan, for sharing. Same thing. I was taking a lot of notes, and I loved your recap at the end. You basically went back through everything you said and really highlighted those 8 key points. And another thing that you said that I really love is just the building your relationships, right? And your networking. And I think a lot of the 8 points kind of fall into that too, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I loved hearing that, because I think sometimes we forget about that, the importance of that. And, I'm grateful to hear that along with your other things.
You're welcome. One thing that I want to add in on that note of, not, following the Joneses and figuring out your own path, and, everything not being what it's supposed to be, right? Is, so another part of the journey of where I am right now in the past couple of years, kind of since COVID, is I went out of work. I was working full-time still at JCPenney on disability. And I want to talk about this because no one talks to us about our benefit packages and what all really are in those benefit packages when we start jobs and why they're important. We start these jobs coming straight out of school, and they just throw all this stuff at us, and we're just like, okay, well, give me some health insurance and a 401k and I'll move on. But there are so many other benefits that are very useful and important in those benefit packages when you start jobs that we need to pay attention to. And so I will touch on this because we never know what could happen to us in our life. I never could have predicted that any of these diseases would have come up in my life at all. Like, never could have predicted anything like this ever in my life. And so one of the best things that I did for myself was I paid into the long-term disability policy at my company. And I educated myself on the disability policies in case anything ever came up and I needed to take time off of work. You never know what can happen. You can be in a car accident. Anything can happen. You could be on vacation and get hurt, and you got to take time off of work. It's not just for when you get pregnant and you take your maternity leave. You never know what can happen to you. And so I really just encourage people, when you start your jobs, to, really see what is in those benefit packages and take advantage of them. Sometimes it feels like, they're taking a lot out of my check. I don't want nothing else come out of my check. I want all my money. Everybody wants all their coin, but you never know what can happen to you. So I just really express, the importance of disability policies and life insurance and putting those things in place for yourself, because again, you never know what can happen to you. So I just wanted to throw that in on that, what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take care of yourself, and those things are there for you to take care of yourself. And there's nothing wrong if you need a break from the grind. Don't be afraid to slow down sometimes and take care of yourself. Sometimes we get way overzealous and we do way too much. And sometimes you need to lean on those type of things to take a step back and have mental health breaks, give your physical health a break, and just don't be afraid to slow down too. Grinding is great, but that whole no sleep culture, no, that is not what we're doing anymore. We're focusing on sleep and eating right, drinking water and exercising, taking care of ourselves, and also being able to run our businesses and our jobs. So I just wanted to throw that in there too.
All great points. All great points. Definitely love that you shared that with us, because it's just important, especially what we've experienced these last couple of years. And we've seen that we don't know what can happen within a second or tomorrow. And so everything that you spoke on is just important, and glad that you definitely highlighted that, because it is important on behalf of insurance and your benefits and how we can make sure we're maximizing the best for us when we're working every day. So we should be taking care of ourselves. And so
Absolutely.
that is a great point. Great point. This has been great. Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It really has. We have a few minutes left. Angel stated that no questions at this moment. I just, other than that, I'm just grateful that you came and shared with us. It's just so enlightening, just to be able to hear other people's story. Sometimes you get so consumed with what you have going on that everybody has a story. And so it's not just about you, or you swear you're going through this, and then somebody always comes along and provides something where you be like, you know what? I can do this. I can do it. So This is definitely a boost for myself.
Good luck to you and your business.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I do have a question. Is there any way that we can, follow you or contact you, in reference to your yoga classes as well as the other things that you're doing?
Yep. My personal Instagram account, that's where I'm most active, is at SULEAH. That's at Sulia. And my business Instagram account is at Fashionista Yogi. And so I'm most active, like I said, on Sulia and Fashionista Yogi, and most active on Instagram. I am starting to get a little bit more active on TikTok, and my TikTok is at Fashionista Yogi to you.
I will tell you, TikTok, I have one for the business, but it's quite the character, I will say. I will say that.
You know what? So I have been saying for like 2 years, oh, I'm going to get on TikTok. Oh, I'm going to learn it. I'm going to get, because it's something that you have to learn. Like, it's a lot, right? And so then finally this year, I just decided, okay, I'm just going to start doing it, start figuring it out, getting on there and figuring it out. And I ended up running across this young lady who is like a, social media marketing type person. There's a lot of those on TikTok that post a lot of information to help you grow and this and that. And so this girl said something that just like clicked for me, and it made so much sense. She said to treat your TikTok like you treat your Instagram stories. So instead of like trying to just do all of the like trend things and just do stuff because everybody's doing it, like make TikToks about like your day, the same way you would post in your stories on IG. And so once I started doing that, it became so much more easier, like versus me trying to like, well, what am I going to post? I'm not trying to do no TikTok dance. Like I'm not doing none of that. So it just kind of made it a lot easier. Just kind of treat it like vlogging almost is what I've been doing. And it's been just like flowing a lot more naturally than trying to like keep up with the Joneses of whatever the TikTok trend is. So yeah, I just want to give you that little advice. You could try it because it's definitely intimidating.
Yes, most definitely. So I will take that tip and try, because I'm like, sometimes the information they share, I'm like, I'm not telling my business that. Sometimes it's just too much. Oh my gosh, Star. You should see the things that they post on there. I'm like, I have seen some stories now. I'm not gonna lie. They have captured me, and I have gone through part 1 through 10. Yes, I have. But I'm not going to do no part 10s on my TikTok. I'm like, I just want you to look at my nice merchandise and keep it pushing. So I say all that to say, thank you for your tips. I'm definitely, I'm going to implement that. It was great. It was definitely great to have you today. Thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing a little bit of your life, and look forward to seeing you again. I'm like, I gotta follow you on Instagram to keep in contact and stay connected.
Yes, please do. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Star, for inviting me. And you ladies have a lovely rest of your evening.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Star?